The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the Zarkonian fleet. What was once a source of wonder and exploration had become a prison. Admiral Kelthor stood on the bridge of the flagship, his 4 eyes fixed on the viewscreen. The stars seemed to mock him, twinkling in the distance, so close yet impossibly far. "Status report," Kelthor demanded, his voice grave. His second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Vexna, approached with a datapad. Her usually pristine uniform was wrinkled, a sign of the long hours they had all been working. "It's not good, sir," Vexna said. "Our main drive is completely dead. Life support systems are running on emergency power. We have enough food and water for another 2 cycles, maybe 3 if we start rationing now." Kelthor's facial tentacles twitched in frustration. "And the rest of the fleet?" "Similar situations across all ships, Admiral. The smaller vessels are in even worse shape." The Admiral turned to look out at the fleet. 50 ships, carrying over 100,000 Zarkonians, now drifting helplessly in an uncharted sector of the galaxy. They had been on a routine exploration mission when a massive energy wave had swept through the area, frying their advanced technology and leaving them stranded. "Have we made any progress in repairing the quantum communicators?" Kelthor asked, though he already knew the answer. Vexna shook her head. "Our best engineers are stumped, sir. The technology is simply too damaged. We can't even send a message to the homeworld, let alone open a wormhole to get back." Kelthor's lower arms clenched into fists. The Zarkonians prided themselves on their technological superiority. To be rendered helpless like this was more than just a crisis. It was a blow to their very identity. "What about the emergency beacon?" he asked. "We've been broadcasting on all frequencies, sir," Vexna replied. "But this sector is largely unexplored. The chances of anyone picking up our signal are slim." Kelthor knew she was being optimistic. Slim was a generous term for their current odds of survival. Just then, a young officer rushed onto the bridge. "Admiral, we've detected something." Kelthor spun around. "What is it?" "Another energy wave." The officer shook his head, his antenna quivering with excitement. "No, sir. It's a planet. We've found a habitable planet in this system." A murmur of hope rippled through the bridge crew. Kelthor felt a spark of optimism for the first time in days. "Show me," he ordered. The viewscreen flickered to life, revealing a blue and green orb nestled in the darkness of space. Scans quickly confirmed what their eyes could see: an oxygen-rich atmosphere, vast oceans, and landmasses teeming with life. "It's beautiful," Vexna whispered. Kelthor nodded. "And it might be our salvation. Prepare a scouting party. We need to know if this planet has the resources we need to repair our ships." As the crew bustled with renewed purpose, Kelthor allowed himself a moment of relief. They weren't out of danger yet, but this discovery gave them a fighting chance. Little did the Zarkonians know that their emergency beacon, broadcasting desperately into the void, was about to be heard. Millions of light-years away, on a small blue planet called Earth, a group of human scientists were about to make a discovery that would change the course of galactic history. In a hidden facility deep in the mountains, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her computer screen in disbelief. The signal she had detected was unlike anything she had ever seen before. It was structured, complex, and undeniably artificial. "Professor Williams," she called out, "you need to see this." As her mentor rushed over, Sarah's mind raced with the implications of what she had found. This wasn't just a random space anomaly, or a pulsar giving off strange readings. This was a message, a call for help from the stars. The human race was about to take its first steps into a larger universe, and they would do so not as conquerors or explorers, but as rescuers, extending a helping hand to a civilization in need. The stage was set for an adventure that would prove that sometimes the most advanced technology is no match for human ingenuity and compassion. The Zarkonians were about to learn that in their darkest hour, help can come from the most unexpected places. The hidden facility buzzed with excitement. Scientists rushed back and forth, their voices a mix of disbelief and hope. At the center of it all stood Dr. Sarah Chen, her eyes glued to the large screen displaying the mysterious signal. Professor Williams, a tall man with graying hair, leaned in close. "Are you absolutely sure about this, Sarah?" She nodded, her face glowing with certainty. "Yes, sir. I've run every test I can think of. This is not a natural phenomenon. It's a distress call from deep space." The professor's eyes widened. "My God," he whispered. "We need to inform the government immediately." Within hours, the news had spread to the highest levels of power. In Washington, D.C., President Evelyn Carter sat in the Oval Office, surrounded by her top advisors and military officials. "Let me get this straight," the president said, her voice calm but her eyes intense. "We've detected an alien distress signal." General Thompson, a stern-faced man in full military dress, nodded. "Yes, Madam President. Our best scientists have confirmed it. It's coming from a system about 50 light-years away. And they're asking for help." President Carter asked, still trying to wrap her head around the situation. Dr. Roberts, the chief scientific advisor, stepped forward. "That's what we believe, Madam President. The signal contains information about their fleet's condition. They're stranded, their technology has failed, and they're running out of resources." The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Humanity had long wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it came with an immense responsibility. President Carter stood up, her decision made. "We can't ignore this. If we have the ability to help, we have the duty to do so. What are our options?" General Thompson cleared his throat. "We have been working on a top-secret space program, Madam President. Project Starbridger. It's a fleet of advanced ships capable of faster-than-light travel. They're not fully tested yet, but they're our best shot." The president finished for him. She turned to face the window, looking up at the sky. "How soon can they be ready?" "With a push, we could have them launched in a month," the general replied. President Carter nodded. "Do it, and get me the UN Secretary General on the line. This needs to be a global effort." Over the next few weeks, the world changed. As news of the alien distress calls spread, humanity united in a way it never had before. Countries pooled their resources, scientists shared their knowledge, and volunteers from every nation stepped forward to join the mission. At the Kennedy Space Center, Sarah Chen watched in awe as the massive Starbridger ships were prepared for launch. 5 sleek vessels, each nearly a kilometer long, represented the pinnacle of human engineering and the hope of an alien civilization. "Nervous?" a voice asked beside her. Sarah turned to see Captain Michael Rodriguez, the mission commander. She smiled. "A little." "You?" He laughed, terrified, but also excited. "We're about to make history." As the day of the launch approached, the whole world held its breath. In every city, crowds gathered to watch the event on giant screens. Children looked up at the sky, wondering about the aliens they might soon meet. Finally, the moment arrived. The countdown echoed across the planet. 10, 9, 8. Sarah buckled herself into her seat aboard the lead ship, her heart pounding. 7, 6, 5. Captain Rodriguez gripped the controls, his face a mask of concentration. 4, 3, 2. President Carter stood in the control room, whispering a quiet prayer. 1. Ignition. The Starbridger fleet roared to life, 5 pillars of fire pushing against the Earth. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed, the ships rose into the sky. As they broke through the atmosphere, cheers erupted around the world. Humanity had taken its first real step into the cosmic ocean, driven not by conquest or curiosity, but by compassion. In the vast emptiness of space, 5 ships accelerated to impossible speeds, carrying with them the hopes of 2 civilizations. The rescue mission had begun, and the universe would never be the same. The Starbridger fleet cut through the fabric of space, its 5 ships leaving streaks of light in their wake. Inside the lead vessel, Dr. Sarah Chen stared out the viewport, watching stars blur past at impossible speeds. Even after weeks of travel, the wonder hadn't worn off. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. "Attention all crew. We're approaching the coordinates of the distress signal. Prepare for deceleration." Sarah felt a flutter of excitement and nervousness in her stomach. This was it. They were about to make first contact with an alien species. As the ship slowed, a cluster of objects appeared in the distance. At first, they looked like unusually bright stars. But as they got closer, the shapes became clearer. Sleek, silvery vessels hung motionless in space, their designs unlike anything humans had ever seen. "My God," Sarah whispered. "There must be dozens of them." Captain Rodriguez nodded, his eyes wide with awe. 53, according to our scans, and each one is bigger than anything we've ever built. Suddenly, a light on the communication panel began to blink. "We're receiving a transmission," the communications officer announced, her voice shaking slightly. Captain Rodriguez took a deep breath. "This is the moment we've been preparing for. Let's make humanity proud." "Open the channel." The main screen flickered to life, and for the first time, humans laid eyes on a Zarkonian. Admiral Kelthor's alien features, 4 eyes, facial tentacles, and blue-tinted skin, were startling at first, but there was something unmistakably intelligent and emotional in his gaze. "Unknown vessels," Kelthor spoke, his words translated by the advanced AI system. "We are the Zarkonian fleet. Who are you, and what is your purpose here?" Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. "I am Captain Michael Rodriguez of the Earth ship Starbridger. We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance." A ripple of surprise passed over Kelthor's face. You came to help us? From where? We detected no advanced civilizations in this sector." Sarah moved into view of the camera. "We're from a planet called Earth, about 50 light-years from here. We only recently developed the technology to travel this far." Kelthor's eyes narrowed. "You expect us to believe that a species capable of traveling 50 light-years developed this technology recently?" "It's the truth," Sarah insisted. "We pushed ourselves to the limit to get here because we couldn't ignore a call for help, even from strangers." There was a long pause as Kelthor seemed to consider this. Finally, he spoke again. "Your compassion is admirable. But I'm not sure how a less advanced species could assist us. Our technology is far beyond anything you could understand." Captain Rodriguez smiled. "With all due respect, Admiral, sometimes a fresh perspective can work wonders. We may surprise you." Kelthor's facial tentacles twitched in what might have been amusement. "Very well. We have little to lose at this point. You may dock with our flagship." As the transmission ended, excited chatter broke out among the human crew. They were about to set foot on an alien ship. The docking procedure was tense but smooth. As the airlock doors opened, Sarah found herself face to face with Sub-Admiral Vexna. The alien was taller than she expected, easily 7 feet high. "Welcome aboard," Vexna said, her translator turning the clicks and whistles of her native language into English. "I must admit, we're curious about you. Humans, was it?" Sarah nodded, offering a smile. "And we're excited to learn about you. But first, tell us more about your situation. How can we help?" As the human team was led through the alien ship, they marveled at the advanced technology surrounding them. But they also noticed signs of wear and desperation. Flickering lights, rationed food supplies, and tired-looking crew members. In the ship's engineering bay, the humans got their first look at the damaged systems. While the Zarkonian technology was indeed advanced, the principles behind it weren't entirely alien. Dr. Chen's eyes lit up as she examined a particular component. This looks similar to our quantum field generators, just far more sophisticated." A Zarkonian engineer scoffed. "Similar? I doubt your primitive technology could even begin to." But Sarah was already pulling out a tablet, her fingers flying over the screen as she made calculations. What if we tried to? Yes, that might work. As she explained her idea, the Zarkonian's skepticism slowly turned to surprise, then cautious hope. Perhaps these humans had something to offer after all. The stage was set for an unprecedented collaboration. Two species, strangers until moments ago, were about to work together to overcome a cosmic challenge. The real test of humanity's ingenuity and the Zarkonians' trust was about to begin. The Zarkonian flagship's engineering bay buzzed with activity. Humans and aliens worked side by side, their differences forgotten in the face of the challenge before them. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at a holographic display, her fingers dancing across the controls as she explained her latest idea to a group of Zarkonian engineers. "If we reverse the polarity of the quantum flux here," she said, pointing to a complex diagram, "we might be able to jumpstart your main drive." Sub-Admiral Vexna tilted her head, her four eyes blinking in rapid succession. "Interesting. But wouldn't that cause a cascade failure in the auxiliary systems?" Sarah grinned. "Not if we use this." She held up a small device that looked like a cross between a smartphone and a futuristic remote control. "We call it a quantum stabilizer. It's not as advanced as your tech, but it should do the trick." Captain Rodriguez watched the exchange with pride. In just a few days, the human team had made more progress than the Zarkonians had in weeks. Their primitive technology, combined with out-of-the-box thinking, was proving to be exactly what the aliens needed. Across the room, a young human engineer named Alex was working with a Zarkonian named Zilks on repairing a damaged power conduit. Alex wiped sweat from his brow, his face smudged with alien grease. "Hand me that plasma cutter, would you?" he asked. Zilks passed him the tool, his tentacles wrapping around it with surprising dexterity. "You know," the alien said, "when you first arrived, I didn't think you'd be much help. But you humans are resourceful." Alex laughed. "Thanks. We may not have fancy quantum drives, but we're pretty good at making do with what we've got." As the day wore on, more and more systems began to come back online. Lights flickered to life in long, dark corridors. The hum of machinery filled the air, growing stronger by the hour. Admiral Kelthor stood on the bridge, watching as status reports flooded in from across the fleet. For the first time in months, hope shone in his four eyes. "I must admit," he said to Captain Rodriguez, who stood beside him, "I underestimated your species. Your methods are unorthodox, but effective." Rodriguez smiled. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best, and when you combine our creativity with your advanced technology, well, there's not much we can't do." Suddenly, alarms began to blare. Red lights flashed across the bridge, and crew members rushed to their stations. "What's happening?" Rodriguez demanded. Vexna's hands flew across her control panel. "The main reactor. It's going critical. The power surge from the repairs must have overloaded it." Kelthor's face paled. "If it explodes, it'll take out half the fleet." Without hesitation, Rodriguez tapped his communicator. "Sarah, we need a solution, fast." In the engineering bay, Sarah's mind raced. She looked at the quantum stabilizer in her hand, then at the massive Zarkonian reactor core pulsing with dangerous energy. "I have an idea," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "But it's risky. Whatever it is, do it." Kelthor's voice crackled over the comm. Sarah took a deep breath and sprinted towards the reactor. The heat was intense, the air shimmering with energy. She could hear Vexna shouting for her to come back, but there was no time. With a silent prayer, she activated the quantum stabilizer and thrust it into the heart of the reactor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like 1,000 thunderclaps, a wave of energy pulsed outward. Sarah was thrown back, her world going dark. When she opened her eyes, she found herself looking up at the concerned faces of both humans and Zarkonians. Captain Rodriguez helped her to her feet. "Did it work?" she asked, her voice hoarse. Kelthor stepped forward, his usually stern face split by a wide smile. It did more than work. The energy pulse has recharged our entire fleet. All systems are back online at full capacity. A cheer went up from everyone present, human and alien alike. As Sarah looked around at the celebrating crowd, she realized something important. In working together to overcome this crisis, they had bridged the gap between their species. They weren't just aliens and humans anymore. They were friends, colleagues, fellow explorers of the cosmos. As the Zarkonian fleet hummed back to life around them, a new chapter in galactic history was beginning. The rescue wasn't just a success. It was the start of something much bigger. The mood aboard the Zarkonian flagship was jubilant. Humans and aliens mingled freely, sharing stories and laughter. The successful rescue had brought the two species closer than anyone could have imagined. Dr. Sarah Chen sat with Sub-Admiral Vexna, examining a star chart. "So, your homeworld is here?" Sarah asked, pointing to a distant system. Vexna nodded, her facial tentacles waving gently. "Yes, it's still a long journey, but thanks to you, we can finally go home." Suddenly, a loud alarm blared through the ship. Red lights flashed, and crew members rushed to their stations. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. "All hands. Battle stations. Unidentified ships approaching fast." Sarah and Vexna exchanged worried glances before sprinting to the bridge. When they arrived, they found Admiral Kelthor and Captain Rodriguez staring intently at the main view screen. A fleet of sleek, black ships was rapidly closing in on their position. Their design was unlike anything either humans or Zarkonians had seen before. "Who are they?" Sarah asked, her heart pounding. Kelthor's face was grim. "The Dra-Kar, a warrior race that's been trying to conquer this sector for centuries. They must have detected our power surge and come to investigate." Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. "Are they hostile?" As if in answer, the lead Dra-Kar ship fired a bright green energy beam. It struck one of the smaller Zarkonian vessels, cutting through its shields like they weren't even there. "Does that answer your question?" Kelthor growled. "All ships, return fire." The space around them erupted into chaos. Energy beams and missiles crisscrossed the void, explosions blooming like deadly flowers. "Our weapons are barely scratching their shields," Vexna reported, her hands flying over the controls. Sarah watched the battle unfold, her mind racing. Then an idea struck her. "Wait, what if we combine our technologies?" She turned to Rodriguez. "Captain, remember the quantum stabilizers? If we could modify them to match the frequency of our photon torpedoes." Rodriguez's eyes lit up with understanding. "We could penetrate their shields." "Brilliant, Sarah." Kelthor looked skeptical. "You want to entrust our defense to untested human technology." "Do we have a choice?" Rodriguez countered. After a moment's hesitation, Kelthor nodded. "Do it." What followed was a frantic race against time. Human and Zarkonian engineers worked side by side, modifying weapons systems on the fly. Sarah coordinated the effort, her voice steadied despite the explosions rocking the ship. Finally, she gave the signal. "We're ready." Kelthor didn't hesitate. "All ships, fire at will." A barrage of modified torpedoes streaked towards the Dra-Kar fleet. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed like they would be as ineffective as before. Then, to everyone's amazement, they passed right through the enemy shields, detonating against the hulls beneath. The bridge erupted in cheers as Dra-Kar ships began to fall back, their seemingly impenetrable defenses now useless. But the battle was far from over. The Dra-Kar, enraged by this turn of events, pressed their attack with renewed fury. Their remaining ships concentrated their fire on the Zarkonian flagship. Shields failing, Vexna shouted over the din of alarms. Rodriguez turned to Kelthor. "We need to coordinate our fleet better. In situations like this, we humans use something called the thatch weave, if we could adapt it to space combat." Kelthor nodded, not fully understanding but trusting the human captain. Explain it quickly. We'll transmit the strategy to the fleet. As Rodriguez outlined the tactic, Kelthor's eyes widened in appreciation. It was a simple yet brilliant maneuver, one that would allow their ships to cover each other effectively. All ships, new formation. Kelthor commanded. Follow the humans' thatch weave pattern. The combined human Zarkonian fleet moved with newfound coordination. Ships darted in and out, covering each other's blind spots and concentrating fire on key targets. The Dra-Kar, caught off guard by this unfamiliar tactic, began to falter. One by one, the enemy ships were disabled or destroyed. Finally, the Dra-Kar commander's voice crackled over the comm system. We surrender, the alien voice said, filled with disbelief. How is this possible? Who are you? Kelthor and Rodriguez shared a look of triumph. The admiral spoke, his voice filled with pride. We are the combined fleet of the Zarkonian Empire and humanity. Remember this day, Dra-Kar. It marks the beginning of a new era in this galaxy. As the remaining Dra-Kar ships retreated, the bridge erupted in cheers once again. Humans and Zarkonians embraced, their differences forgotten in the joy of shared victory. Sarah looked out at the starfield, now quiet after the fierce battle. She realized that they had done more than just win a fight. They had proven that, when different species worked together, combining their strengths and ideas, they could overcome any challenge. The rescue mission had turned into something far greater, the birth of an interstellar alliance that would shape the future of the galaxy. The combined fleet of human and Zarkonian ships glided smoothly through space. The stars streaked by, painting lines of light across the viewport. On the bridge of the Zarkonian flagship, Admiral Kelthor stood with Captain Rodriguez, both looking out at the cosmic tapestry before them. I never thought I'd be traveling to your homeworld, Rodriguez said, a hint of excitement in his voice. Kelthor's facial tentacles twitched in what the humans had come to recognize as a smile. Nor did I imagine I'd be inviting aliens to visit, but here we are. Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Sarah Chen, who burst onto the bridge, her eyes wide with excitement. Captain, Admiral, you need to see this. They followed her to the science lab, where a holographic display showed a strange anomaly in space. It looked like a swirling vortex of energy, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. What are we looking at, Doctor? Rodriguez asked. Sarah's fingers danced over the controls, zooming in on the anomaly. It's a wormhole, a stable one. And according to our calculations, it leads directly to the Zarkonian home system. Kelthor's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in surprise. Impossible. We've never found a stable wormhole in this sector. It wasn't here before, Sarah explained. We think it was created by the energy discharge from our battle with the Dra-Kar. The combination of our weapons and their shields must have torn a hole in space-time. Rodriguez whistled low. So we could use this to get the Zarkonians home in a fraction of the time. Sarah nodded, but her expression was serious. Yes, but there's a catch. The wormhole is unstable. It's slowly collapsing. If we're going to use it, we need to do it soon. Kelthor turned to Rodriguez, his face grave. This presents a dilemma, Captain. If we use the wormhole, we'll be home quickly, but you and your crew will be stranded far from Earth. Rodriguez was quiet for a moment, then he smiled. Well, Admiral, I guess you'll just have to show us some Zarkonian hospitality until we can find a way back. The decision was made. The fleet adjusted course, heading for the wormhole. As they approached, the enormity of what they were about to do settled over everyone. Sub-Admiral Vexna approached Sarah, who was triple-checking calculations at her station. Are you nervous? Vexna asked. Sarah looked up, offering the small smile. Terrified, but also thrilled. We're about to do something no human has ever done before. Vexna placed a comforting hand on Sarah's shoulder, her alien features softening. You've shown incredible bravery already. I'm glad you'll be with us on the other side. As the fleet neared the wormhole, new challenges arose. The swirling vortex was emitting powerful gravitational waves, threatening to tear the ships apart. "Shields at maximum," Kelthor ordered. "All ships, maintain formation." The journey through the wormhole was like nothing any of them had experienced. Reality seemed to bend and twist around them. Lights flashed in impossible colors. For a moment that felt like an eternity, everyone held their breath. Then, suddenly, they were through. The fleet emerged into a new star system, dominated by a beautiful blue-green planet. "Home," Vexna whispered, her voice filled with emotion. But their trials weren't over yet. Alarms blared across the ship. "Admiral," a Zarkonian officer called out. "The wormhole. It's collapsing faster than we predicted. The human ships, they're being pulled back in." Without hesitation, Kelthor gave the order. "Lock tractor beams on the human vessels. We're not losing our friends now." The Zarkonian ships strained against the pull of the collapsing wormhole, their engines glowing white-hot with the effort. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed like it wouldn't be enough. Then, with a final burst of energy, they pulled the human ships free. The wormhole snapped shut behind them with a flash of light. On the bridge, humans and Zarkonians alike cheered. They had made it. Against all odds, they were safe in the Zarkonian home system. As the fleet began its approach to the planet, Rodriguez turned to Kelthor. "So, Admiral, what do we do now?" Kelthor's expression was one of determination and hope. "Now, Captain, we introduce two worlds to each other, and we begin planning how to get you home." Sarah joined them, her eyes shining with the light of new discoveries. "And in the meantime, we have a whole new solar system to explore, new technologies to study." As they looked out at the approaching planet, all three felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just the end of a rescue mission. It was the beginning of a new chapter in the history of both their species, a chapter of friendship, cooperation, and shared discovery. The journey home had led them to a new beginning. The great hall of the Zarkonian High Council buzzed with excitement. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the room, their voices a mix of clicks, whistles, and rumbles. At the center of it all stood the human delegation, led by Captain Rodriguez and Dr. Sarah Chen. Admiral Kelthor approached the podium, his four eyes scanning the crowd. The room fell silent. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice amplified by the translator devices, "we stand here today to recognize an unprecedented act of courage and compassion." He gestured towards the humans. These beings, from a planet called Earth, traveled across vast distances to answer our distress call. They not only saved our fleet, but also defended us against the Dra-Kar threat. Murmurs of amazement rippled through the crowd. Many had never heard of humans before, and the tale of their heroics seemed almost unbelievable. The Zarkonian Emperor himself, a towering figure with shimmering blue skin, stepped forward. "Captain Rodriguez, Dr. Chen, please approach." As they walked up, Sarah whispered to Rodriguez, "I can't believe this is happening. A month ago, we didn't even know aliens existed." Rodriguez smiled. "And now we're being honored by a galactic empire. Life's full of surprises." The Emperor's voice boomed across the hall. "In recognition of your bravery and the spirit of cooperation you have shown, we hereby grant humanity full membership in the Galactic Alliance." The hall erupted in cheers. Aliens of all species rushed to congratulate the humans, eager to learn more about these newcomers who had made such a dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage. But amidst the celebration, a concerned Vexna approached Sarah. "We still haven't found a way to get you home," she said, her tentacles twitching with worry. "The wormhole is gone, and even our fastest ships would take years to reach Earth." Sarah's smile didn't waver. "Don't worry, Vexna. Remember, human ingenuity got us here. It'll get us home too." As if on cue, a young Zarkonian scientist burst into the hall, waving a datapad excitedly. "We've done it," he shouted. "We've recreated the wormhole technology. The news spread like wildfire. The combined efforts of human creativity and Zarkonian advanced science had paid off. They had found a way to create stable, controlled wormholes. The Emperor raised his hands for silence. "It seems," he said, his voice filled with awe, "that our new human friends have given us more than we could have imagined. With this technology, we can explore the galaxy like never before." He turned to Rodriguez and Sarah. "And of course, we will use it to ensure your safe return to Earth. But know that you will always have a home here among the stars." As the celebrations continued, Sarah found a quiet moment with Vexna. The two had become close friends during their adventures. "I can't believe it's almost over," Sarah said, looking out at the alien sky. "Part of me doesn't want to leave." Vexna placed a comforting tentacle on Sarah's shoulder. "This isn't an end, my friend. It's a beginning. Earth is now part of something greater, and you'll always be welcome here." The next day, as the human ships prepared for their journey home, the space around the Zarkonian planet was filled with ships from across the galaxy. They had come to witness this historic moment, the return of Earth's first deep space explorers. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the spectacular view. Admiral Kelthor's voice came over the comm. "Are you ready, Captain?" Rodriguez took a deep breath. "As ready as we'll ever be, Admiral. It's been an honor." With a flash of energy, a new wormhole opened before them. As the human ships moved towards it, escorted by an honor guard of alien vessels, Rodriguez couldn't help but reflect on their incredible journey. They had set out to rescue a stranded alien fleet. In the process, they had forged friendships, overcame seemingly impossible challenges, and opened up a whole new universe of possibilities for humanity. As Earth's ships entered the wormhole, carrying with them the knowledge and friendships gained from their cosmic adventure, one thing was clear: the future of humanity was no longer bound to a single planet. It was written in the stars, waiting to be explored. The rescue mission was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.